Welcome to another edition of Monday Match Points. I'm Jeff Stouse with the NSAA. I have Kim and Craig with me today, and we're going to just dive right into a few things. I feel like a little bit of a broken record, but today is the deadline for postseason officials applications. So for those of you that have not filled out the application on the NSAA website on your officials login page and want to apply to work the postseason this year, please make sure you do that prior to midnight tonight. We will begin working on some postseason assignments once we have all those applications in. And so my hope is that by early to mid next week, I'm able to start offering contracts for the sub-district and district round. And then state assignments would come out probably a week or two after that. We always try to give a couple weeks of advance notice from our state tournament, which is somehow only about 4 weeks away right now. And so the part of our postseason that's a little bit different is the district final round, because we don't really know where any of those matches are going to be yet. And so for those of you that put in to work that district final round on that Saturday before the state tournament, I'll get you a contract. I will offer those contracts as soon as I possibly can. I just have to know where those matches are first. So I appreciate your patience and your understanding, and that our member schools want us to do things a certain way, and sometimes that's under a tight timeline. So stay tuned on any of those potential contracts for those of you that applied to work the postseason. One last item in terms of our postseason assignments, I've had some questions come in about line judging, which obviously any of the folks that are watching this, if you're interested in working as a line judge, at the state tournament, please let me know. That's part of the application that you can do for postseason. But if you know folks that are just working locally that you've worked with a number of times throughout this season or over the years that you know are really good quality line judges and they just don't register with the NSAA, but you know that they would want to be or could be a great line judge for our state tournament, let me know. Have them contact me directly. I can work with them and ask some questions, and we can get them added to the list of folks that are line judges that want to potentially work at the NSA state championships. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Kim.
Good afternoon. Happy Monday. Just wanted to go over something that's been brought up or asked about quite a bit. It's not in the rule book, and you will not find this in the case book, but it's just best practice. So many times at the score table, the teams will turn in their lineups, and then the other coach will try to come and get that lineup ahead of the game. And so best practice, and you might have to educate your scorebook, your libero folks, just make sure to keep them turned over. We don't want any team to have an unfair advantage, because if they are allowed to get that lineup prior to, they can change their lineup so that they have, their middle in, a different position because they know whoever is in front row. So just be cognizant of that. You don't need to make a big deal of it, but just try to be preventative and keep those lineups turned over so that nobody can see the numbers, and have the scorer just have a conversation with the scorer and just say, hey, we're just trying to, keep it fair and on all playing level. I don't know if you want to add anything, Craig, but that's what I do with high school.
Yeah, and I think it's just more of just kind of know your audience. Like if you notice something's going on, just kind of try to be preventative about it if you see it going on. But yeah, I agree with you. It's just I think it's more of educating our scorer.
Yeah. And just a best practice to do that, to make sure that you're making it fair for both teams. So, and there are coaches that have been in it a long time. They know how to, I guess, work the system a little bit. And so that's where you just want to make sure that it's fair for both teams. And I would say probably our scorers and our, scorebook, our libero tracker, they have no idea what people, they're just wanting to get it on their lineup sheet and do what they're supposed to do. So if you can just be aware of it and try to avoid that would be great.
And I would add too that I've had that question come in to my office, not from officials, but from coaches. And so, especially some of our newer coaches that maybe experience that for the first time, it's just something that if we can try to be consistent across the board and, like Kim said, have that best practice of not having that information available to, maybe the coach that turns their lineup in after the first coach. I think that is a really good practice to have just to keep that even playing field for everybody.
All right, Craig, you're next.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so I want to talk about one new item today, and then I'm going to do a refresher on a couple other ones. The first thing I want to talk about is on a served ball, if the ball hits the antenna on the R2 side, or if it actually goes outside the antenna, what the right signal is. Basically, I don't, again, think you're going to maybe find this in the rule book, but the best practice is to have the R1 blow the whistle for that. So basically, if let's say like if the ball would get stuck in the antenna on the R2 side, the R1 would blow the whistle, award the point, and they would actually give the out signal. It wouldn't be a net signal on that. But that doesn't mean that the R2 can't blow their whistle, but I would give the opportunity to the R1 to do it first, because that's just kind of a best practices for that. So we were getting some questions on that. A refresher on the timeout procedure. One of the things I want to make sure that we do is, again, and I'm just gonna run through this really quick. So if a team A needs a timeout, you're gonna go tweet, timeout to the court. They're gonna start the clock. And then after that, at 15 seconds, you're gonna do a double tweet again to give them the warning whistle. And you're always gonna end the timeout with a horn. And you do the horn before you actually signal how many timeouts each team has used and then give the court back. So that was the question, is when is the horn blown? And you actually do that to end the timeout. And then as the R2 and the R1, that's when you give the number of timeouts used, and then the R2 will give the court back. So I hope that's kind of clear on the timeout side. And then the other thing that I've been observing a lot is when the R2 calls a net call, I want to make sure that the R1 waits until the R2 does a couple things. So the first thing is the R2 is going to blow the whistle. They're going to go net signal and then the number. And then you both are going to award the point at the same time. And then the R1 would come back with the number. Because I think what we're seeing a lot is the R1 is getting hurried as soon as they blow the net, or as soon as the R2 blows if it's a net fault. The R1 is awarding the point. So just pause a little bit before you actually award the point, and then you'll give the number after that. So that's just the three things that I kind of wanted to go over real quick today. Kim, do you want to add anything to any of that?
No, and those are just little things. I think I know sometimes as an R1, I rush that as well. And so, yeah, just wait a minute, wait for your partner, and go together to award the point.
You can tell that we're getting a little bit further into the season here because we're starting to our topics are getting to be much narrower and much more detail oriented than the larger scale topics. And so we're somehow only about a month out from our state championships, and our postseason starts even before that. So we're rolling right along. So Kim, Craig, thank you for taking the time today. Thanks to anybody that's watching this. We will likely not have a Monday match point next week. You can blame me. I'm going to be on the road for our golf championships, but we will be back the week following next. So thanks for taking time today, and we'll see you next time.